Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be on the World Wide Web. Welcome to Giants Blitz, our show about all things football right here at ChilliwackGiants.com. I'm your host, Tim Amy, joined by Mr. Moa Gagne, the general manager of the Valley Huskers of the BC Junior League, and Dustin Plett, a former Chilliwack Giant and York University Lion alumnus. And today, for the first time ever, we are live. No recording. We're live on air. So let's keep it clean, gentlemen, shall we?
Sure.
Good, clean show. So today what we're discussing is many players will turn 18 and reach their last year of midget, and they say goodbye to football. They want to go on to different parts of their career, try something new. Nothing wrong with that. But for many players, they want to continue on their football careers beyond, either be the Canadian University or even U.S. University system, or with the BC Junior League, perhaps with the Huskers, we hope. So here to discuss the different career paths a player can take is Mr. Gagne and Mr. Plett and their experiences. And I'm going to talk to Mr. Gagne first. You have recruited and signed many players over the years with the Huskers, and I'm sure in many other aspects of your football career.
Yes, it's been a fantastic opportunity for me to work with young people in that venue to future their goals in football.
And now, let's say an 18-year-old kid out of the Giants comes to you and you're taking a look at him. He's not sure what path you can take. He kind of wants to go to university. You're looking at him. You're not sure. What kind of advice do you give to a young kid charting his future through football?
I think I've got three thought patterns for that. First, if you're scholastic, definitely go to university. Even if you're not ready physically, if you're scholastic, go there, get some education, and make the move. If you're not quite ready scholastically, maybe you got to get in a weight room and get a little bit bigger, a little bit faster. It's a big transition for a lot of kids to go to university because the workload is heavy. You got your schoolwork, you've got to work out, you've got meetings, you've got practices, and it's tight. And then there's a financial part. All of that put together is very disciplined. So if you're not totally disciplined and not ready to do that, it's a tough goal. So saying that, you can go to junior and play maybe 2 years, build your skills, and maybe get a bit more mature in strength and mentally, and then possibly go to university. For some, that works fantastic because when you're a very young guy, the recruiting ways are the top echelon get the scholarships first, and at the bottom then you get, and it's tough. It's financially tough. Mr. Plett here's going to know that. He's going to be able to tell us how it's a tough goal financially and mentally. So, and then a third way I look at it, if you play junior a couple of years, your value might go up after you become a terrific player. And that's my goal, is get people to have value within themselves, build some self-esteem. When you go play football, I love it if you just go for it and don't have any hesitation. I think that's the part that hurts kids so much, if they have hesitation and they're a little bit overwhelmed. And maybe Dustin can help us on that.
I want to touch, pardon me, Dustin,
Yeah,
before we
sure.
go to you. You've touched on it a couple of times. Now, a BC junior football career can last, 5 years?
5 years.
And you're saying 2.
No, I'm saying if they are scholastically minded,
Right.
maybe a good idea is to play 2 years of junior and then go to university,
Right.
and then you're ready to step on the field. Because most of the time, for the first 2 years, you don't see the field,
Yeah.
and it can be frustrating for some if they don't see the long-term goal.
It's tough, though. I mean, you're an 18-year-old kid, and you're stepping on a field, even at university level, as Dustin will tell us in a minute. I mean, there's 21, 22, 23-year-olds,
24 years.
24-year-olds. They're
When I
men.
started, they didn't have a rule. There was a 28-year-old on
Yeah.
my team.
Yeah. I mean, they're men, and you're 18, and to leave home, to have all the stresses of school. So if you're, say, a Chilliwack kid or a Valley kid, and you know, maybe you're just not ready, it really does allow you to experience it without a lot of consequence. I mean, if you play for the Huskers, it doesn't work out, that's not good. But you haven't traveled all the way to Acadia University in Nova Scotia, for instance,
Yes.
in Wolfville, and all of a sudden it doesn't work out, and you got to come all the way back, and there's so it's a nice opportunity to mature physically or as an adult, but you just get a taste of the higher competition level, and it's a bit of a softer landing.
Yeah, it's bigger, faster, stronger, but it's not only that. It's fast on the field. You don't have time to think. A lot of what I've seen many times is midget players come in, and they're an all-star in a midget league, and they can't even first get on the field, even at the junior level,
Yeah.
because it's a massive transition for a lot of kids.
Now, Dustin, you're a bit of an anomaly because you played for the York University Lions, but you didn't go on a scholarship. You made it as a walk-on. So
Nope.
what's your story?
Out of high school, I played for a really good team of Abbotsford, WJ Mowat, and I was looking at schools across Canada, and we have a coach that had good connections to Manitoba, had good connections to Queens. There was Western coaches that came down to say hi, and there was all those opportunities, but a lot of them, in my particular case, playing a D-line, I was not very big. I'm 5'10" on a good day. That's not the prototype body shape for anyone playing my position. So you definitely run into a lot of bias when you don't fit the mold of what people expect out of you. So for me, I didn't get a lot of scholarships because they didn't think I would make it at the next level. I even had one coach, I won't mention his name, he told me that I wouldn't make it in CIS at all. And that was a very driving factor of why I chose York, because that was the rival school. So
Oh, you can mention his name now.
I like that thought pattern.
for me, I knew that York was looking at me. I had used multiple recruiting websites. I think the one we used was NCIS, I think is what it was called.
Okay.
And basically, we had a lot of film at our high school, and having film I felt was crucial. If you didn't have film to send around to get your name out there, to show people what you're capable of, you're going to have a hard time, because especially it's hard for them to put all their eggs in the basket on the other side of the country if they don't know what you're capable of. And I think having film was a big part of it. And basically York said, hey, if you come, we'll give you a shot, but we can't promise you a roster spot. And it was tough. I went out there. I didn't know anybody. It was intimidating going into the first medical checks that I had to do, because there was veterans, there was rookies, there was guys a lot bigger than me, and I wasn't very big in high school. University, it got even worse. So it was definitely intense. We had so many guys that camped that first year. For that year at York was a really big recruiting year. I think there was 87 rookies came into our camp.
87 rookies.
87.
That's not the whole team. That's just the rookies you're
Yeah, it
inviting.
was just the rookies. I
Wow.
think it was one of the biggest recruiting. I think it was the biggest Canadian recruiting class that year, because there was a big transition point for the school at that time. Coach Warren Craney was taking over as an interim coach. He was taking the full head coach position, so he was going to town on recruiting. He was getting everyone he could, and I ended up in the basement. They didn't even have room in the locker room for us, and out of that basement, I think there was 30 or 40 people in there. I was one of two guys that got out of the basement that weren't cut. They gave me this little kind of like a rolling locker stand. It was just like a temporary thing in the middle of the room of the lockers, so I got to use that. And then as more people got cut, the weeks went on through camp. I ended up getting a half locker, and then by the end of training
That's a great
camp,
story.
more people got cut. I got a full locker, and by week 1, I started my first CIS game.
Nice.
So it was mentally exhausting. A lot of people got injured. A lot of people went down. And the way I figured is, as long as I keep trucking along, they're going to need me, because it looks like everyone's hurt. So I made it, toughed it out, and I played a lot my first year.
So how you could have gone BC Junior, but you got told you were going to make a CS. You went to York. On the airplane flying to Toronto, assuming you flew. What's going through your mind?
It was one of those things. I grew up with this idea that you can never figure out, what's the best way to say it? You got to give up who you are for what you can become. And giving up my whole life in BC, I think, was a big point where I'm selling into the idea of playing football, that I gave up my Chilliwack family to go play in Abbotsford. I gave up a lot of friends and a lot of things I had going on here to make that change. And I thought this was the next step towards that, was I have to give up the comfort of my home to try and see what I can create, what I can become. And I was nervous, but there was no holding back at that point. There was no wasting an opportunity. It was definitely a big point of mental toughness in my life where I couldn't give up. there was no giving up. And I had a lot of emotional support back home, people counting on me. And I think the coolest part was every time I got home for holidays or whatever, there were so many people that I knew that I didn't really know that would always tell me how much they were supporting me and how happy they were for me. And it was almost as if I was carrying the community with me. That
Wow.
the Chilliwack Giants organization was completely behind what I was doing, and I was playing for them. So
Nice.
it meant a lot.
I think that's that's a fantastic. I want to congratulate him on that, because it's a hard thing to do, is put the weight on your shoulders, but it can make you grow as a man, and it has certainly done that.
Thank you.
That's amazing. What's the hardest part of being the GM when you're looking at all these rookies coming in?
I
Is
don't know.
Do you make the decision, or does I'm interrupting? Did you make the decision, or is it down to the coach, or is it the two of you?
We both work on it, but when it comes down to it, the coach is he's the boss.
Right.
In that. I am behind the scenes helping him. There is a hierarchy, and yes, I'm supposed to be the coach's bosses, but I don't look at it that way. I'm looking just to build a team, and I have to support the coach, and it's his decision what happens on the field.
Right. But
The
some of
GM
those
can't get
kids,
involved in that.
some of those kids.
I recruit a lot.
Yeah.
Still to this day, I do a lot of recruiting, and I'm involved with that, and I'm trying to bring the type of person as this young man is. That's what I want on our team.
More Dustins. That's what football needs.
That's for sure. So sometimes it's hard, but you know what? Dealing with football is just a fantastic life. So I don't look at it as hard. I look at it as I'm helping the community. I feel I've got the Huskers on my back. I feel I'm a responsibility to this community. I love this community, and I want to make it go.
But it's nice they have that option, because Mike Kelly, who's a coach here with the Giants, won a championship as a Giant, as both a player and a coach. He went to the Abbotsford Air Force, who unfortunately they're defunct now, and he was a bit of a late bloomer, and Mike's got a bit of a long story, but he was an outstanding football player and made it the Air Force. Wasn't ready to take the jump yet, like just physically mature wise. He needed that extra couple of years. He gets MVP with the Air Force, gets invited to the CFL Combine, doesn't get drafted, fair enough, but then turns around and does this great 4-year stint at the University of Manitoba Bisons, and ranked top 5th best receiver in Canada. I mean, you don't have to. There's no clear black and white path
different for each
a
person.
young player
Yep.
can take.
So that's when you have to have guidance from people, and I feel
Yeah.
that's my job. Guidance for players, what I think is better for them, not better for the Huskers, better for each individual player. I'm really stuck on that. I love working for the Huskers, and I want it to be the best team I can help with. But saying that, I really feel a lot of soul, let's call it, for players. I want to get them to the top. When I was in Manitoba, I recruited more players. I was coaching university, but just before that, I was a head coach of a junior team there. There was 4 junior teams in Winnipeg at the time, and 2 of us were ranked 2 and 3 in Canada with 4 teams here. And
Four junior teams.
Yes.
And there's one in Chilliwack. There's one in Langley. Then you have to go to the island, and you have to go to the Okanagan. So that gives you an idea how much football there is in Manitoba. Sorry, go on.
But my train of thought went with that one. But while I was coaching at the junior level, I recruited a lot of people for the university at the time, and I recruited more people who played against me to go to university than that played for me, because that was my goal, was to get them to the best level they could attain.
Yeah. And a good program, it's interesting because, of course, most people watch sports on TV, and when you're watching pro sports, it's about winning, right?
Yep.
But for programs like the Giants in the midget program and like the Huskers, really, I mean, they always want to win day in and day out. But they want to try and build players for their next stage in life. And it's never about today. And I'm sure you'll agree with me. You can expand on this. It's always about tomorrow.
Yeah, I think you really got to put yourself in the best position you can. Your future, you're so young, especially when you're 17, 18, even 19, 20. A lot of guys don't know what they're doing. Football is their answer for what we're doing right now. Take it to your advantage. Use it to find what you want to do and put yourself in the best position, and it'll make you better. And I feel like you said, getting ready for the university level, getting ready for whatever you have in the future, I feel like you have to take advantage of that opportunity if that's your best position.
Now, you touched on this because you made it as a walk-on. Now, a lot of kids will come out with a scholarship, and they're kind of hyped, and they're kind of maybe big on themselves, and they go off to Guelph or Acadia or wherever. And of course, it's, like you said, 86, 85 rookies, and not everybody gets to get on the team. And coaches will look at them and say, you know what, you're not quite ready for what we're looking for right now, but hey, we'll redshirt you. We'll put you on that practice squad, and you work hard, and next year you'll, and a lot of kids turn around and they just slink home. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if they always realize, because it's tough. You're a stud playing in your midget year. You've been an all-star for most of your career, and suddenly you're not good enough to make a team, and it's hard when you're 18. You can't process it. But really, and you can probably attest to this, there's nothing wrong with getting redshirted. There's nothing wrong with being on the practice squad, because you can still build your repertoire and get that soft landing at the university level.
Yeah, and actually, I have a cool story relating to this. When I was in my first year university, I met this guy. He was my age. He came from a local high school out there called C.W. Jeffries. His name was Jamal Campbell. He was a local guy. He grew up in the Jane and Finch area near York University, and he was really tall. I think he's 6'7", maybe. Don't quote me. He was a lineman, and he played for York. He was kind of at an awkward stage where he grew so much he had a hard time with his knees. He had a lot of growing pains.
Yeah, that's common.
He was very uncomfortable with his body. And after a year or so at York, he didn't play at all. He was completely redshirted the first year. He didn't see the field at all. Second year, they're trying to really help him out, and he put in more work than I've ever seen many people put in. And he played all the years with me, all the way. But fortunately for him, all his hard work paid off. He was drafted by the Toronto Argonauts the year before.
You're kidding me.
Yeah. And now he's going around. He's telling his story to the local high schools, and he's putting in a lot of community work. He's one of the best men I've ever met.
Wow.
Great story.
We have a trivia question coming at the end of the show, but I got a quick trivia question just for you guys.
All right.
Who's the most famous practice squad player of all time?
In what level?
NCAA.
Rudy.
Bang. My favorite football movie. Rudy. Rudy Rudiger. It's been, 4 years? 2 years, 3 years out of the practice squad for Notre Dame.
As soon as you said
Fighting
that, I was
Irish.
thinking,
Oh, yeah.
Rudy, Waterboy, or Radio? Which one am I going to?
Rudy, Waterboy, or
I
Radio?
think one of them's real.
But even though, interestingly enough, even if you get redshirted or you're on the practice squad for most of your career, I mean, so few players make it pro.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in CFL, a lot of guys, like maybe yourself, you come back to where you grew up and you want to coach, you want to help out, you're a part of the association, you're on the board now. So 3-4 years on the practice squad or redshirting, and you're part of the team, you're part of the development, you're still going to learn about the game at the higher level and what it takes, and you can pass that on to players coming up, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel like I can kind of relate to this too, because playing university level, I never became the star that I was in high school and with the Giants. It was never that my glory moment. But I always believed in something more than myself. It was always the team first. And when I kind of realized that I was more of a role player, that I had to play what my team needed me to play, whether that was on a nose tackle, 3-tech, I played D-end, whatever they needed. Then I started playing special teams, whatever we needed, I was always up to do it. And by my last years, I only ever really saw second team defensive reps, but the coaches, they called me the professor, because I would teach all of the younger guys how to do everything right. Because if they're bigger than me and they're better than me now, imagine what they could do if they learned everything properly. So if I can help the team of tomorrow, that was my idea. If I could help next year just by teaching these kids right this time, who knows? Maybe it won't be, and that's the thing, it's not that it's a waste, but maybe it'll be worth even more to me.
Right.
So it's all about just what can you do. You don't have to be the star. Being a role player worked just fine for me.
Nice. You know who one of my favorite Huskers is?
Tell me.
Blake Draper.
Blake Draper.
You know why? And it's not he's got a great career with the Huskers.
Yes.
He came here 19 years old, or 18 years old.
18.
And he boards with Colleen and Drew Saunders, who are part of the Giants. And he apprenticed for 3 years as a cabinet maker as he's playing for the Huskers. And now he's off to the University of Regina.
And he helped young kids at the Giants.
Exactly.
You know,
But he's got
he was billeting there,
Yeah.
and he was helping their family. Well, what are we going to do with our kids tonight? Well, I'll take them to practice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He would do that.
And, but he's got a marketable skill as a trade. He's off to advance his
Yeah.
career at university, post-secondary, and he got to play a ton of football.
Yes.
So
And
smart
he's
move.
advanced his career as a player too,
Yeah.
because now he's an expert long snapper.
Oh, is he?
The people don't realize that, so he's valuable because here he is, a big guy for a receiver,
Yeah.
and going downfield, he's kind of mean.
You gotta
a
be.
mean streak. So in that long snapper, you're not touched anymore in the center when you first release, and he gets downfield first, and he lays a lick, and so that he's valuable at university level now. Like Dustin said, he became valuable because he would do anything. And boy, that's our first thing. You know what? I was just looking at that when I was recruiting. One kid said, "I'll do this, 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 this. I haven't done them before, but that's what I'm willing to do." And I said, "I don't care. You're on the team."
Yeah.
That's
His
the
attitude.
character. You
Yeah.
want character.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Attitude. All right, wrapping up. Thank you very much, Mr. Moa Gagne, General
you.
Manager of the Valley Huskers, and Dustin Plett, former Giant, York University Lion alumnus.
Congratulations again. Proud of you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, in conclusion, don't think your career after midget is black and white because there's many paths you can take. And even if you head all the way out to St. Mary's in Nova Scotia from Chilliwack, you don't make the team. If you tough it out, you've got a career. So let's go to our trivia question. We're going to sign off. Let's sign off. So thank you very much. ChilliwackGiants.com. Your host, Tim Amy. I'd like to thank our executive producer, Mr. Wayne Biorgi, our producer, Mr. Tim Maston, and our technical director, Miss Jillian Fraser. Now to our trivia questions, my favorite part. So the 2009 Grey Cup, the 97th Grey Cup, was an epic battle between the Montreal Alouettes and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Came down to a field goal in the dying seconds.
Wait till he finishes that.
He's got to start over.
Sure.
I think he can. Yeah, we'll just wait a second. See, what you want to do is you want to tell people to wait until afterwards. They'll still watch live.
Okay.
So once he brings it back up.
Now we're back again. And we're back for the trivia question. Okay, let's get down to it. So, our trivia question today, the 2009 Grey Cup, 97th Grey Cup at McMahon Stadium in Calgary, was an epic battle between the Montreal Alouettes and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. CFL fans know exactly where I'm going with this. When the dying seconds of the game, Montreal needed a field goal to win the Grey Cup, and they missed on their first attempt because the Riders got nailed for too many men on the field. And of course, as history would have it, they nailed the second try to become champions. Now, no one will ever admit from the Rough Riders, or probably from the Alouettes as well, who that 13th man was. They refused to let that player wear the goat horns. But a player did come forward and did take the blame. He wasn't him because I don't think he dressed for the game, but he was willing to step it up and take it for the team. So the trivia question is, who was that player? And we're going to get online. I believe they're going online. We'll wait a couple of seconds. Do you know who it is?
I do not.
Are they looking? Do you know who the guy was? Do you remember that game?
I do.
Yep.
Very much so.
Where were you when they missed?
I think I was sitting at home laughing.
Were you here in Chilliwack?
I think so. 2009?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
You were
still in
here?
Chilliwack, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where were
so
you?
Here in Chilliwack.
I was in
didn't care for
Chilliwack.
either
I was
team,
watching the
so
game.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, someone's gonna get hate today. It's not me.
You know, it was interesting. That game was interesting for me because I had just moved to Chilliwack from Saskatoon. And it's a pretty incredible thing to go to the prairie. You know this in Blue Bomber country is the rider pride. It's everybody watches the riders. It's unreal. Like they don't watch any other sport.
Never mind them. The Saskatoon Hilltops and the Saskatoon Huskies.
Oh yeah, I mean there's tons of football, but I mean the riders, man,
Rider
like it's
Nation is-
sick.
Rider Nation
So
reaches all kinds.
I grew up in Montreal.
Oh.
So